Hey there, Scrappy Peeps. It's Shelly, and I am Scrappy Longstocking. I am here today to share with you my Project Life pages for 2025 for the week of July 20th through the 26th. I've already got my photos printed out, and I've got a part of a kit and some pieces in here that I wanted to use. So I am just going to start putting this together and see where we get from here. My story, your story. Okay, so these pieces are from a 2022 or 2023 Project Life kit. So friends, I decided to go ahead and put this on 4 times fast forward and do a quick voiceover because I spent a crazy amount of time trying to find the gold foil number 7 to use as my title card. And I went and looked through all of the pieces in my July bin, and then I looked through the album and I finally found it when I flipped through one of the pages. I had previously used it on another month, and so instead of deleting, I just sped this up. What's that photo printing company? There's a it's not Paisley Press, it's anyway, they gave away a free summer themed kit that has this same card on there. And I'm wondering, I don't want to use that. Maybe this? Ooh, that's kind of cute. But I don't want to cut off the edges. No. No. Maybe. I'll say maybe on that one. What's in this one? I don't have any Studio Calico in here. Let's see. I need a title card. Title. Shoot. Okay, here. No, that's kind of a cute little maybe. I also think I am missing. No, I don't want that. I think I'm missing the July stories card. Maybe they didn't give one last year. That's fine. That's kind of normal, right? Yeah. All right. So that's gonna be my title card there. I guess that's okay. I don't like it. What else do I have? I do like that. Maybe I should just. I wanted a pink one, but there's not any. So these are the tags from the December daily release last year. And okay, so this one will fit in there. And I like that on the green background, and I can just date stamp on that, and that green looks fine with all this other stuff. Also on my table is this. I used these 2 sheets on my last couple of layouts, and I wanted to rain broke. I left them out because I wanted to make sure to use them because both of those sheets are almost empty. All right, I decided to just put this video on 3 times fast forward because I just do a bit more nutty brain crazy things before I go ahead and start my photo sorting. So you can see here I finally got to my photo sorting, and I do top to bottom, left to right, Sunday to Saturday scrapbooking. So I like to have the first 3 or 4 days on the left, the last 3 or 4 days of the week on the right. And I used all of my page protectors that I possibly could in these 2 albums for this year, because I didn't really want any left over. And what I've got here is a page of 3x3, 3x3 squares, and then a page of 3x4 photos. And on the left there, right, you can see where I started planning out my pages when I printed out my photos, and then I gave up. Mostly because I was lazy. So instead, what I did was decide to print out as many photos as I wanted. And I usually try and leave some blank space so that I can use up some cards. And instead of printing out a photo for each pocket or deciding which cards go in which spot, I went ahead and just decided to count the number of photos that I had and then leave a couple of spots remaining for cards and journaling and filler cards, because my goal this year is to use up as much of the product as I can. I've tried to use some of the stuff from my stash and make sure I use some of the new stuff. And I think I've done a pretty good job, because I had 2 full years of backlog of Studio Calico supplies. And I have used some of those Studio Calico kits for every month of this year. And I also subscribe to the Storyteller kit, and I've used some of those pages for this year. And I've worked in my Storyteller or my story album. So I think I've done a pretty good job of using up my supplies and my kits. The additional crazy thing that I've decided to do that I don't know if it's a good idea is I have decided to go ahead and buy the digital kits as well. So that means, I guess maybe it's kind of like getting an extra subscription that I don't really need. But I like to be able to print extras of some of the cards I like, resize some of the cards, change the colors on some of the stuff. I really do like it. And as I go along, I just try and make those decisions. So my photos begin on Sunday. And on this Sunday, I had watched the movie Queen Esther on TBN. It was a video of the live performance by Sight and Sound Theater. And then it looks like I called my son and had a pretty good chat with him. We talk about maybe once a month at this point. He's in his 20s, and it's not really all that cool to hang out with your mom when you're in your 20s. Just going to say that. And then there's a 3x3 photo of my coffee table and scrapbooking. That's usually what I do on Sundays as well. I wanted to use that 2 scoops please 4x6 card, because there was, I ate a lot of ice cream during this week. So I did eat a lot of ice cream because it was hot. It's July in the South. So I was going to use that, but I think I end up scrapping that idea because it just doesn't fit. That's the problem with trying to use all the page protectors, is sometimes the cards don't fit and I have to change my mind. The other thing that I sometimes end up doing is sometimes I end up just picking an entirely different set of cards. just because I decide I don't like the way things are coming together. Here I am putting a photo that I accidentally cut apart into a grid, and I taped it to a piece of copy paper instead of going ahead and owning my mistake and using it separately. I wanted to use some filler cards and make sure I had enough spots for journaling, so I went ahead and I put it in the same slot. I did have to cut out some spots of this video so that I could print out a 3x4 or a 3x3 card that said 2 scoops please, so that I, instead of using the 4x6, I went ahead and used the 3x4. So I changed it so that it is 3x3, and then it fits in my square pocket there, and I can go ahead and use it like I wanted to and basically tell the story of eating a bunch of ice cream this week. I went ahead and sped this video up a little bit more at this point because I spend a crazy amount of time just cutting off the edges of these photos to make them fit in the pocket. What I'm working with right there is a Today in History screenshot from the AP Wire. So every day, if you scroll down far enough in the news events, the AP Wire on their app, they have a Today in History, and every so often I'll see something interesting and I'll just snap a screenshot so that I can include it for that day in my Project Life album. I believe this card that I'm working with here is a reprint of the packaging, I want to say. And it's a pretty green stripe, and I use it to, I usually use some backing for my steps, my Fitbit screenshot that I try to include in almost every week this year. I like to print it out at 2.5 by 4 because it's a screenshot. It prints narrower to include all of the pieces I want to include. The additional things I have in there, I had a class during this week. I think it was, it might have been 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, I think is what that is. It's on the right-hand side. There's another screenshot from Instagram on the second row, and then it looks like in the middle of the page on the right-hand side, on the right of that. That's a lot of directions. Anyway, the piece that I was putting together earlier, which I had to tape down, it had, those are some photos from my Saturday, and then the book I was reading while I was working around the house. So I think what I was trying to take a picture of was I took down the blinds that the prior owner had put up in my house, and they were so filled with dust and just, oh, I couldn't even breathe. I was struggling to breathe. I didn't want to take the time. I had tried to clean them, and I didn't want to take more time to try and clean them. Anyway, so I took them down. I was trying to take the picture, but you could see the light through the window more than you could before, and I think that's what I was trying to take a photo of. And when I look at it later, I'll know. And then the bottom row of the right-hand side is my dinner group that I go to on most Saturday nights, and then a photo of a rainbow over the bridge, crossing over the Arkansas River from the town we had eaten dinner in, to my town I live in now. And I took it while I was driving. The traffic was light, and my phone has gestures, so I used gestures to make sure I got it to the phone, or the photo app on my phone. You saw me there use a stamp to stamp the word summer days. And that was an old Studio Calico stamp. Both of the stamps that I was looking at were Studio Calico stamps. And I wanted to just give it a shot using the stamps because I'm not very good at it. I don't use it very often. But I gave it a shot this week, and I do like how it turned out. Here's my little bin where I keep some of my bits and bobs. I chose a star brad for that tag because the background paper from the prior week had little white stars, so it was green, had little white stars. So now I'm moving on to doing my journaling. I had to make a quick run to go and get my journal to figure out what actually happened during this week. And I used my journal to write about, just basically list out the things that happen every day. And then if I have additional room at the end, then I also write about how I'm feeling and sometimes the things that I'm thinking about, so that my journaling and project life can be a little bit more robust. But mostly my journaling and project life is either directly related to the photos that I include, or it's the Monday was, Tuesday was, Wednesday was sorts of things. So it looks like here on this card, I started on Wednesday. So on the left card that I just finished with the green stripes, it looks like I probably did Sunday to Tuesday, and then it's just a bullet point list, just saying like I did this plus this plus this. And then I do longer journaling about talking about having a conversation with my son, and then registering for the, what is it called? The back to school mall at my church. It's a charitable program, and I like to serve when there are individual opportunities for serving and making an impact in the community. And then the last thing was the journaling about ice cream. Once I finish my journaling, I go ahead and I grab that currently card because I don't need it anymore. And I don't need it because I did all my journaling on the other cards. And I go ahead and decide to swap the card out for just a filler card, since I don't need another journaling spot. And I don't really want to tell a story about having dinner or what I did on Saturday, or I don't really want to tell a story about the rainbow, although I probably could have told the story about the rainbow. So I finally include the slow card. I rated as slow, but other people I think I've seen on the internet, other people think it reads lows, but I think it's slow. And then the last thing I do is I grab the embellishments that I had on my table, and I grab some of the hearts, and I just pick some hearts to put on the various photos, and then I go ahead and do the screenshot. I don't really have a rhyme or reason to which embellishments that I pick, although I do like the hearts and the stars. I find it difficult to use some of the other types of embellishments. Okay, friends, I hope you enjoyed this video. I enjoyed hanging out with you today. I hope you enjoyed hanging out with me. If you press the like and the subscribe button, the algorithm will know that you want to see more videos like this and of my videos. I'll see you around the internet. Bye, friends.